Is Bring a Trailer busted, or are prices just leveling off and everything's fine? We're going to talk about the predictions we made on the last episode, and we have all new Bring a Trailer P-Car Market predictions coming up right now. This is Bid Nerds. The bidding starts now. Bid Nerds is your daily YouTube car game show, where we predict the online auction results of the most interesting cars on Bring a Trailer, Cars and Bids, Hagerty Marketplace, and more. It's just like the Price is Right game show. Play along and see if you can beat the nerds. Sup, nerds? Time for a Wednesday night edition of brand new Bid Nerds, coming to you live from the downtown Las Vegas Container Park. My name is John Polnik. I'll be your host, along as well as my partner Michael Deeb in San Francisco. I'm a little low energy tonight, trying to bring it up. You guys should really pour a drink now before we get started. It's going to be that kind of show. We have guests in studio and coming in through the satellite. But before we get to that, what's up, Michael Deeb?
Do you remember, JP, when the world was shut down? I was out in Vegas, and you and I drove way up the north end and looked at that 1972 Porsche 911S that hadn't run in like 20 years.
Oh my God!
And,
yeah.
And we opened up the frunk of that car, and the entire frunk was a massive rodent's nest. It was just all like droppings and dews, just like horrible. Like your voice tonight sounds like that's your mouth, which is to say, for 4 years you have been so consistently silky and golden that I can actually tell you're fatigued tonight. And I tip my hat to you. You've been so good for so long. Tonight it's okay if you suck a little.
I see how you are. On that note, introducing in studio, we've got Buddha hanging out. What's up? Everybody say hello.
What's going on, everybody?
Yeah,
Mike
it's going to be a good
Myers
show.
is in the house. Oh my God! Did somebody order ball sack leather to be delivered? What's going on?
Oh, he's dropping it already. It's going to be that kind of show.
That's supple ball sack.
Supple ball sack leather.
Is there any other kind? You always
got
to be supple with the ball sack.
Man! All right, and coming in on the satellite on the interwebs, we're doing the whole technical thing. Holy cow! We got Max Vincenzi from RetroWorks Garage. Let's see if I can push the right button, get him on here. Well, I'll get Deeb and Max. How you guys doing?
What's up, Max? Everybody. Welcome to the show, buddy. How you doing, man?
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
What the hell is RetroWorks, Max? Tell everybody about it real quick.
RetroWorks is many things. So we started off as a used Porsche parts company back in 2012, and we evolved into it started as a hobby, to be honest, and it grew into a company, and then we evolved into a car building enterprise, focusing on early Porsches, F body, G body. And then we narrowed it down to the outlaw niche of the air-cooled market. So we build outlaws as well as continue to sell used Porsche parts. So yeah,
that's awesome. Max, what's your not daily driver, but like what's your fun car in the garage? If you're going out for a drive with your buddies, what do you take? Do you drive the type of car that you sell, or do you run something more modern for yourself?
I do drive the type of car that I build and sell. In fact, I drive the very first one we built, and
nice.
It's a Martini liveried 1970 911 E that we actually, when I found it, it was converted to G body with a 935 slant nose.
Whoa,
weirdness on it. Yeah, it was narrow body to add to the to put salt in the wound. So we brought it back to long hood. I did a wide body, sort of an RSR type of approach to it, but added a little hint of wild on it. So
yeah.
But my daily is a Cayenne.
Very cool.
Cayenne, so.
Yeah.
Well, everybody check that car out at RetroWorks Garage on the IG, and we'll be talking about that more later. But we're going to get to reconciling our auction predictions from the last episode. But we're going to start out by giving a shout-out to our good friends at Godden Porsche, Godden Classic of Las Vegas. If you're looking for a classic Porsche of your own, or parts for one, or you just want to go down and see a bunch of cool Porsches, go check out Godden Classic. You don't even have to be in Las Vegas. You can give them a call. Steve will get you hooked up on whatever you need. And also, you're going, hey, look at that. Bid Nerds was kind of on time. We weren't really that late today. That's probably because our watches, our fine Swiss watches, have been serviced at our Smiths. So our fine Swiss watches are in tip-top shape. If you have a fine Swiss watch or you want one, give our friends at oursmiths.com a call, and they will get you set up lickety-split. Anthony Vieira is the owner, and he is in the chat, so you can talk to him right now. And shout out to all of the Bid Nerd Herd Nation in the chat group right now. We do this show for you guys. We love you guys. Thanks for making it fun. Let's get started. This is kind of like a game show, so let's get to it. Michael Deeb, what was the first car we talked about on the last episode?
All right, JP, last week or a couple days ago was pretty lonely for you and me. It was just us, just like the old times. We got a car that our good friend John selected from us, John from San Francisco, who is in the chats tonight under the handle of 1965 Corvair dude. Shout out to John. JP, you and I and John will be having dinner on Saturday night before Cars and Cafe on Sunday.
Nice.
John selected for us a 1991 Porsche 911 Targa, 964 Targa, that is in the original shade of amethyst metallic paint. 91 is still sort of a dot one, but this car does have the 17-inch Cup 1 wheels. It also was treated to some H&R lowering springs. The car was on Bring a Trailer and brought to market by our friends at 911R, Avant-Garde, out of their Scottsdale, Arizona location. Now, the current owner of this car bought the car on BAT back in... Waiting for my computer to load. 9/11 of 20. So September 11th of 2020, this car sold to its current owner for $72,500 and still in that original shade. So the car has been brought back to market after, adding a few miles. Should say it only had 69,000 miles. But John, as you looked at the photos closely while I was reviewing the car, you found a lot of discrepancies that obviously everyone else who might be interested in purchasing this car would drill down and find as well. Some of the paintwork and some of the discrepancies with overspray and stuff like that you thought would really hold the value back. So I changed my bid during our review from in the 140s because of the low miles, the fact that it's a 964, and the fact that it was originally an amethyst car with a black leather interior. I took my bid down from like 145 down to 125. You took the under at just $110,964. Our car, let's start with Max. Max, I know you guys specialize in older cars, but I know you're such a pure Porsche head. You would appreciate that 964 Targas only recently have really started to creep up in value, and there's not as many of them in the marketplace. Normally you see 2 or 3 of them. Now it's hard to find just one. Max, this is a low-mile car, but it has had some paintwork. It's brought to market by one of the better, more reputable sellers, although this is not their best bucket of photos. But it's also that amethyst color. It's got the Cup 1s. It's been lowered. But the paintwork we really thought was going to hold this car back. Knowing it's on BAT, seeing what we've described to you, what do you think this car hammered for a couple days ago?
Well, I think it's, first of all, it's worth mentioning the fact that the color is extremely cool. Like it's very rare. It's unique. Back in the 90s, that color probably would not have done very well. But now it chases everybody. I had a 964 with magenta interior, which also in the 90s would have been kind of a nose wrinkler, but I couldn't believe how many people were after that car. I did see what JP was talking about in terms of, especially in this picture right here, I could see the overspray, I guess it was, right at the bottom of that Targa bar. And it is, sad to see such a beautiful car, be a victim of such poor work. But I would still put that at probably in the 119, 120 range.
Yeah, we'll give you
Despite-
119 because that was the first words out of your mouth. But thank you.
Yeah.
I think you're right on the money there. Buddha, you know how we
Yeah.
play the game.
I was
Looking at this car, what do you think, Buddha? Give us a bid.
Gave us a bid, didn't he?
I wrote down my bid from the other night. I
good
came in
God,
right
Jesus
under,
H. Christ.
I came in right under JP at 110. I just want to say, this spot, Avant-Garde, I am surprised. We've seen all their cars sort of featured. They have a spot in the desert where they go out and they take these pictures. But I think they've got an A team and a B team for taking pictures.
Yeah.
And this car, they were like, we'll let the B guys go out and take the pics. But
I actually think it's the same camera. I just think it's the time of day. They normally film at the golden hour with some artificial light, and they do a really good job of it. They took these photos during the day, and JP, if he'll tell you anything, he'll tell you that light makes all the difference. What's the difference between flare and glare, JP? 50 grand an hour?
50 grand, but I think that's what Buddha's right. It's like if the A guy wouldn't have done that. The A guy would have waited an hour. He would have gotten himself a latte or an iced coffee or something like that down there in the desert and waited for the light to get a little better. These photos are not good, Deeb, because
I know.
It's not the camera. It's never the camera. It's always the photographer. And they're not in focus. Like, there's a lot of information that's just not here. And when we notice that overspray stuff, because this is a huge surprise to me that Avant-Garde would kind of flub on this. We're friends with those guys, and we root for them, but this listing seemed, I think Buddha is spot on. I think they just had a guy that was the B guy, and he didn't do the job right, because there should have been supplemental close-ups of that overspray that would have provided full transparency, and no one would had to have guessed. I was very surprised not to see any questions about the overspray in the comments, but I'll let you get to what did this thing actually close for?
I think it's in Arizona. I think the A-team camera guy was probably photographing a quinceañera that night, and that's why they had to shoot the car earlier in the day. So our car hammered for $107,500, where it's sold on 36 bids. So JP, you were actually really close at 110,964. And in the comments, I see Christian, and I also see Thoroughbred, both at 105,000. Buddha, I don't see your bid anywhere, so I'm sorry I can't give you credit for coming in as a win. If you were also in that 110,000 range, it would be really close. But
I've started writing them down because sometimes, and it's not Randy there's no way Randy can keep track of everything, and then I can't remember anything that I think. So I actually take a little scribbled piece of paper and write it down. So if you'd actually like the proof, there's my scribble.
What's your just read it out loud. I'm still waiting for you to read it. What was
110?
He told it.
Oh, then you would won. Then you would have won because you'd be 2,500 away. All right. So let's start with Buddha. Buddha, why did you get this one right? Is it the photography?
I just thought the pictures, the color's spectacular. I just didn't, it wasn't presented well enough to pull the big number.
Wow. JP, where you at? What do you think of that result?
I think the result is, honestly, I think it's did better than it probably should have with that kind of paintwork. I know, look, I've said it before, Porsche people are crazy when it comes to color. They love these crazy colors. And Max, like I said in the previous episode, in the 90s, nobody wanted these colors. You couldn't sell a purple Porsche. That was like, you roll up somewhere, you're a purple Porsche. What was that, bro? But now it's like, oh my God, I have to have that. I mean, 964s were the kiss of death.
You would have been bullied by your friends if you drove a purple Porsche.
It's true. And a Targa and all the other things.
Right,
I mean, it's just, and now they're kind of finding their day. And I love it. I want to convert my convertible 964 into a Targa, even though it never was one. Just so maybe I'll get Max to pull out the welder and cut off a Targa from a junk one and put it onto mine.
We've done that before, and it's actually a pain in the neck to do, but it is doable, and it does look great when it's done. If I can add one thing, 964 Targas are actually quite rare in terms of production numbers. So surprising, I mean, the paint work on that is probably one of the factors.
We were all basically thinking that if the paint work wasn't an issue, this thing is definitely a $130 car, maybe even better. But that was a problem. You know, yeah, love this car. Definitely. What do you guys think of the results of this wine-colored 964 Targa? Did the new buyer, was he drinking? And was like, he's like, I'm going to spend the money anyway. Who cares? I will say, I saw a post on Facebook. The new owner or somebody posted a picture of this car. This car got a lot of play on the socials, and the new owner was in there, and he's tickled pink or tickled purple, as it were. And I was kind of hoping he would join us in the chat. I actually reached out to him and said, hey, we're going to be talking about this car, because I really did kind of want to see what he says, what he thinks of the car in person, and I'd love to see some photos of that paintwork. Is it bad? Is it not so bad? Whatever. It's just, the listing just really, they fell down on this one, and I think they could have done better. But hey, the new owner is happy because he got the car probably at a discount. So congratulations. Yeah. All right, let us know what you guys think of the results, and we're going to move on to the next one. What do we got, Michael Deeb?
All right, JP, I selected for us a 1970 Porsche 914-6 out of Las Vegas. This car is also on Bring a Trailer. They showed in the images, JP, that they dropped the motor on this thing and basically rebuilt it. I'm guessing they hopped it up just a little bit, from 100 horsepower. That's probably putting out about 125 or something. But this car was born in Signal Orange. That looks like they did a beautiful job, at least reassembling the motor, all the new zinc hardware. And, when you clean you cryogenically freeze all the dirt off the motors. And then you put a new exhaust system on it and you button it up and take some photos of it before you put it back in the car. It looks like a piece of jewelry. This car just looked really nice. Sounded good in the driving video. And the fact that it was born in the Signal Orange, which I think is such an iconic color for this car. That was the color of the cars that the Porsche factory raced at Le Mans and won their class on the 914's debut. So just all around, it's a car, JP, that I would love to own. And I just wondered if the market was soft enough on 914-6s that I might be able to afford one. So I started the bidding at $101,914. You argued that the market was soft and that this car could be had for just $82,914, at which you'd be really close to getting my money. Max, we'll start with you. This is an original 914-6 with a rebuilt motor. I don't think it's original paint. It's just a nice driver quality car with a recent reseal of the motor. It might have been built top end, but nothing spectacular. This isn't some wild outlaw. This is a numbers matching original Signal Orange car on BAT with some pretty terrible photos. The market has been soft on 914s. But it is springtime. If ever there was one to get off of one, this would be the hour to do it. Max, you guys are air-cooled specialists. Any love for the 914s with a 6-cylinder, and what do you think this one would go for on BAT?
There is a lot of love for 914-6s. Having said that, I have driven in a number of 914-6s, and they don't really do it for me. I'm used to obviously the 911. So having jumped into a 914-6, I appreciate the car. I'm not a huge fan of it. But this particular car, despite the fact that it's not original paint, but original color, it's extremely clean. I mean, I was surprised at, the engine and the transmission, like all the zinc plating and all that, it just looks brand new, which, it goes, it goes a long way when selling a car. Photos wise, perhaps not the greatest. I am not a big fan of the whole, the photo has to be so beautiful. I do understand and appreciate the value of it, but I'm the kind of guy that buys cars based on, the crappier the presence of that car, the better the deal for me, which equals in more money in my pocket at the end of the day. Right?
Yes.
So if I see crappy pictures, I'm excited. When I see really good pictures, I get less excited. So I'm kind of on the other end of the spectrum of you guys, talking about, photos have to be in focus and whatnot. But I mean, that photo right there, like the heat exchangers, the exhaust, it looks all brand new. It's amazing. I would put this in,
remember, you got to give a number, not a range, a number.
Yeah.
I would say probably 96. 95,000 is
95,000. Very good. Buddha, where are you at? I know you did your bid already, but like, can you just read it to me? 109.14. Thank you, Buddha. I'm reading it right now. All right. So, and then we've got Brian L in the chats there, JP, that guessed 93,000. That is relevant because boom, our car sold for 93,000 on 33 bids. Shout out to Brian L for the Yahtzee on that one. But Max, let's go right back to you because you were right on the money. You basically missed guessing on this in a matter of seconds by just $2,000. Do you feel right now that 914s are a little softer than they were, say, just a couple of years ago? I know the whole market is down, but do you think people are bearish on 914s? Because 911s, for the most part, have remained pretty strong in an overall soft market. But I feel like 914s have been more a victim to the market and haven't held as strong as 911s. Would you agree with that sentiment, or do you have a different take?
100%. I would totally agree with that. I think part of the deal of that is the overall, I call it curb appeal of a 914 is not quite as the one of the 911. So, great that it's a mid-engine, but it's not a 911. So, I think in terms of that, the market has softened up. I do agree with that 100%.
Yeah. JP.
Yeah, I like the take about, Max talking about how you see opportunity when you see photos that aren't very good. And I don't think that I think, Max, you're not necessarily disagreeing with us in the sense that we prefer to buy cars that are photographed well. It's, from our position as the bid nerds, our position is if you photograph the car well, it's going to sell for more money. But I'm kind of with you, Max, in the sense that in probably the most common argument that we have on this show is when we see a car, whether it's a Porsche or any kind of car that has maybe bad wheels or a bad steering wheel or something like that, things that are very, very easy to change. I love seeing stuff like that because everyone goes ape-ish over it and says that they're terrible cars when I'm just going, dude, that's the easiest thing to change. It's like a couple of grand, pull the old ones off, put the new ones on, and you got a brand new car. So I think you're right, Max, that there is an opportunity when you see poor photos, but if you can see past those and see through them. One thing that I will say about this ad and the photos, as let's call it unromantic as they are transparent in the sense that there's a lot of coverage here. They're showing pretty much everything. It doesn't look like anything's hidden. Everyone has commented on how clean the underside of this car is. And unlike that purple Targa that was beautifully shot, even though we all said that it's may not be the A-team for Avant-Garde, still beautifully shot. But because it was so pretty in the way it was shot, a lot of things were not so transparent. I think there were things hidden in that ad, and that always kind of makes you suspect. What do you guys think of that?
Max, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. It's funny because, in my view, the beautiful car lacked the necessary information and essentially fetched less than it could have because of that, where this car that is actually well executed, clean, no overspray, again, going back to the underneath, it's just impeccably clean, ended up kind of also not fetching as much as I would have thought maybe even a year ago a 914 would have fetched.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
Any thoughts?
We've seen. I'm sorry, I'm hopping in there. We've definitely seen 914.6s do better than this, especially really clean ones. Way better. Yeah. Buddha, what do you think of the result?
Yeah, I just wonder if maybe they over prepped this car, thinking they saw the huge money they were getting, and then. But look, Max, I haven't been lucky enough to drive one of these, and I would love to because it just seems like it'd be so fucking cool. But then, $93,000. What else could you get with that?
Right.
A lot of options at that number.
Fun.
Yeah,
it's just
that are way cooler curb appeal, more fun to drive,
right, exactly.
And better long-term value. Although you could make a pretty good argument. The problem with this car is that I mean, long-term value, you might be onto something, you know, buying this car for under 6 figures or at 6 figures being as clean as it is, but you can't do anything with it at this point. You buy this car, you better hermetically seal it because that's the only way it's going to, you know, retain and add value over time. Because otherwise, if you drive it, which is what presumably you'd want to do with something like this, you're going to hurt the value. So we always tell people, I mean, come on, how many times have we said the cars are not investments, they're fun, and sometimes you can get lucky with them as investments, and we've definitely seen crazy things going on in the market. But that kind of goes back to, you know, how we opened the show. Is BAT busted? Is the car market, is the classic car market busted? I don't think it is. I think it's just corrected. I think things are just coming back to, all right, what is the real value represented by any given individual listing and specific car? What do people want from their cars? People are going to be spending their money. I mean, for real, right? It's like, what are you going to do with the thing? Are you looking at it as an investment? I think if you're looking at these cars as investments right now, you're probably in the wrong place. You should be spending your money somewhere else if you're trying to get a return on it.
JP, there's a funny one in addition to what we were saying about, you were asking Buddha, or Buddha asked, what else? 93,000. What else could you have for that? And Kevin Bodeman in the comments says that blue 911, that RSR, that SCRSR that we covered 3 times in the last 2 weeks, it could have been had for 93,000, and you could easily fix that car with the anyway, whatever. So that was pretty funny. Thank you. Good. That was a good one, Kevin. Thank you.
It keeps coming up. It's like a boomerang. All right, let us know what you guys think of the results of this Jägermeister Orange 914-6. Was that well bought? Is this a good long-term investment? Or should the person have, maybe they were just drinking a bunch of Jägermeister. I don't know, and they're just like, bid, I'm ready to go. Let's do this thing. Let us know in the comments below. Nerd Herd Nation, you guys are hanging out, giving us great comments. I'm trying to put them up on screen while we're cruising along, so keep interacting. I'll try to get to you guys as much as I can. Do us a solid and hit that like button. Hit that thumbs up. Bad boy, if you haven't done it already. There's a bunch of you in here, and there's more people than there are thumbs up in the chat. So what's up, guys? Somebody in the nerd herd. There you go. All right, I'm seeing more thumbs up going. Thanks, guys. Love you. What was the last car we made a prediction on the last episode, Michael Deeb?
All right, we are going to put our guest host Max on the hot seat right now and find out once and for all if Max is an air-cooled elitist. Max, if somebody rolled in with this 1966 Chevrolet Corvair Monza convertible 4-speed, would you turn them away at the door? I mean, Max, it's rear-engined, it's air-cooled, and it's a flat 6 with a manual transmission. Come on, tell me you love this car as much as the geeks on this show. I really dug the color. Max, for the record, I have a chiffon turbo look from 1984, and when I saw this car, the color matched the colorway of my car, and I just thought it was really cool and too funny a joke not to have a little fun with. I really dig the way this car looks. It looks very presentable as a excellent driver quality car. It doesn't look like a show car, and it doesn't look like most Corvairs, which are unfortunately not cared for over the last 50 plus years. And a lot of them are really roached out. The Monzas get a couple of carburetors and up to 110 horsepower. This car just looked to be in really nice condition. So I started the bidding at $18,500. And JP, to my surprise, took the over at 20. Max, any love for a Chevrolet Corvair Monza, which was Chevy's response to the 911? If you go back in time and look, what do you think when you look at these? Do you just laugh them off, or do you go, you know what? After 50 years, these things have actually aged pretty well. It's a cool car that they built it. It's obviously not something you would ever take up the crest. What do you think?
I do love the Corvair. I have to admit, it's
cool.
I don't know what it is about it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't even really think it's the flat 6 in it that does it for me. It's more so the overall shape. In fact, as a Resto Mod guy, I almost look at the Corvair and think to myself, what else can I do with this car?
Oh yeah.
It's got really, like, I mean, it's got American sexy lines. I do understand the whole flat 6, craze and all that stuff, but this particular car is great. I mean, I love the color. I love the color combo. I even like the wheels on this car. It's great.
Yes.
Yes.
You know,
That's so
like
funny.
it's just.
Love it.
I'm not a cabriolet / convertible guy. I mean, a coupe would.
Cabrio
be
phobe.
yeah.
He's a cabrio.
Yeah,
phobe.
I'm a cabrio. I am definitely a cabrio phobe. It's I think it's one of those false senses where I think if I'm going really fast, you know, and I get in a car accident, I'm going to get decapitated for not having a roof, which is
whatever. You're just worried about your
irrational,
mohawk getting messed up. Come on, man. I'm not
That's
jealous at all
That's-
because I have no hair, but I'm just saying.
I know. I wish I could grow a mohawk. All right, Max, give us a bid. This car has decent photos. It's on Bring a Trailer. It was located in South Carolina, and again, it is the Monza, which is a step up. It's not a Corsa, but what do you think here, Max? What do you give us? Give us a number for this.
I think 15,400 is my number.
15,400.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of love for these cars, but I think at the same time, there's also a lot of room for people to, you know, maybe love these cars that still don't love these cars. So I don't know.
Buddha,
We
know you're a cabrio phobe. Give me your bid and tell me what you think real quick about the car.
Yeah, I was at 16, and I'll say this about the car. It's actually from 6 Mile, South Carolina. It's not far from where I grew up, and this is the right place for this car. There were so many Corvair-obsessed folks in the upstate of South Carolina. You have the vans, convertibles, coupes, didn't matter. So this guy is selling it in the right spot. I wouldn't be surprised if it didn't stay within a bit of a local area.
Copy that. All right. Without further ado, JP, our car actually did pretty well. The final bid was $19,910 where it sold on 24 bids. So shout out to you, JP, because you basically missed a Yahtzee by $90.
Gerd missed one by $10. Come on, Gerd.
By $10. Gerd at $19,900. Gerd, I think Gerd is first of all, he probably writes for what is it? Not South Park. What's the other one where they guess all this stuff? Never mind. I lost the joke. Anyway, what do you think, JP? That's all the money for the car. Little love for that thing.
Yeah, man, I love this thing. You know, I talked about it in the last episode. I kind of fell in love with it. I was still hoping someone was going to hop in the Nerd Herd or in the comments on the last episode and give us some information about these things. I still don't know anything about them. But one thing I do know is I've got a handful of Porsches. One of them is I have a 912, right? And it's really cool. You look at it and it's like, that thing is cool. It hard parks like nobody's business, right? I mean, it just has that long hood, flossy, slammed, it just looks the business. It's very, very in style. And I'm sitting there and going, that car is probably worth, 2, 3, 4 times the value of this car. And I'm going, I think I'd rather have one of these and that Z28 Camaro that we talked about on the last episode. I mean, we talk about is BAT busted, and I think what's going on is I think that it's finally these crazy sellers that we're thinking that they were going to get crazy money for everything. I think it's finally time that now it's like, car collecting is back. I mean, for 20, 30, 40 grand, you could get this and another cool car. For the longest time now, $20,000 didn't get you Bubkiss. I mean, it got you basically a rusty MR2. And now there's really cool cars coming back, and I like MR2s. There's a lot of cars coming back to market in that $20,000 or less market where you can actually be pretty darn cool. And, this is definitely a car that is going to be, I'm going to learn more about these. And I'm going to be seeking one. I mean, because everyone bid this car pretty low, which lends me to believe that they can be had for $15,000. This is a really nice one.
This is a nice one. And I'll give you your first fact from John, who's hiding under the handle of 65 Corvair dude. He's correcting me in the chat, JP, saying that the Corvair Flat 6 was in fact designed before Porsche came to market with their Flat 6. Thank you for that, John. And John, I know you love those zebra wheels on this particular Corvette as much as I love that chiffon white paint. I still think I should have bought this car and kept my turbo look, and I would have had a pretty cool 2-car two-car deal there. So, JP, the question is, are you going to get a Corvair convertible or Corvair?
I mean, come on. You know I'm a convertible guy. These things don't handle for ish, so who cares if it doesn't go around corners fast? This thing's a boulevard cruiser. Has there ever been a car more set up and ready to go for an LS swap? I mean, everyone talks about LS swapping their 996s when they blow an IMS. But why? I mean, this is a Corvair. It says Chevy on it, for crying out loud. Slap that thing in there and get going.
There's some hot rod guy that built a car for SEMA, and he basically took a Corvair coupe and removed like what would be underneath the ABC pillar. He removed that piece all the way into the back seat and used the entire space to put a mid-engine V8, an LS swap in that, and then made it handle and all this stuff and built, basically a supercar out of a Corvair. Because let's face it, the Corvair is probably as light as a Corvette. It's so small and it's got a short wheelbase. He made a car that goes fast, stops, and handles. And I think he won a bunch of awards. I remember reading an article about it and thinking it was the oh my God Corvair of all time. But he didn't have those cool zebra wheels like our Corvair did.
Max, if someone came to your garage and said, hey, I want to put a LS swap in my Corvair, would you be able to do that?
100% in no time. I would jump on that offer.
All right.
Before we jump off, I've got one question for you guys. Should Chevrolet have called the new C8 Corvette the Corvair?
Ooh.
Good question. I like that question. And I've gotten in arguments with a lot of people that I think the new C8 should have just been called something else completely, because they would still sell a ton of Corvettes. Right, if they just kept making a front-engine Corvette, they would sell any Corvette that they make. They're going to sell a ton of. But if they but the question is, making it a mid-engine, would Corvair have been the word that gets people to spend $200,000 or $300,000, which I think they could have gotten for C8s if it was a completely different car? And the answer is no. I think the Corvair has a very, very, very bad brand associated to it. But we're not going to get in the weeds on that one.
But they could have followed Ford and then come out with an electronic crossover, an e-car, and called it a Corvette, and that would have worked, right?
Yeah, with 4 doors and a hatchback and everything like that. Geniuses in the marketing department down there in Detroit. All right, let's move on, guys. That is we've reconciled all the cars from the last episode, so we're going to tee up 3 brand new cars, not brand new cars, but 3 brand new listings, and we are going to make predictions on those cars with our experts, Max from Retro Works Garage and Buddha in the house. We're going to be right back right after this. Stick around. Hey guys, I got to tell you about our friends Gaudin Porsche of Las Vegas and Gaudin Classic. If you're looking for a new Porsche or a classic, you got to call our friend Steve at Gaudin. This guy. Save yourself the hassle of screwing around with all the auctions like we always talk about, and just talk to Steve. He'll find you the classic Porsche you're looking for. Gaudin Porsche of Las Vegas. If you don't subscribe to Bid Nerds on YouTube right now, I'm going to shoot this 997. If you said, wait, that's a 996, you're a nerd. So subscribe to the new YouTube channel, Bid Nerds. Hey guys, you're probably looking at your watch and wondering if Bid Nerds will ever end. So you better talk to our friends at Our Smiths to make sure your Rolex, Tag Heuer, AP, or any fine timepiece is in tip-top shape. Our Smiths, fine Swiss repair. All right, guys, thanks for sticking around. We've got some new predictions. Max, you ready to do this?
I was born ready, my friend.
Born ready!
I don't know if I was. I don't know. I'm just saying.
I think I just got your 23andMe DNA profile from China. It's on the internet now. Pretty cheap. And it says here that you were in fact born ready. So there you go. The DNA test proves it.
There it is.
All right, guys, let's get to some new predictions. Michael Deeb, what's the first car on the list? We've got some interesting cars to determine whether or not Bring a Trailer is busted. That is our theme of the night. Now you got to stick with that for that thumbnail YouTube stuff. What do we got what's the first car?
All right, JP. John and Yuri sent me in the text messages this Frankenstein of a car that I'm sure Max is going to love. If not, Max is probably already familiar with this car because it's been a California car for a long time. On PCAR Market is a 1973. Let me read it to you. It was originally a 911T Targa that has been converted to a Speedster, a custom Speedster. The car Porsche never built. So our car Started life as a 73 911T Targa. It was acquired by the seller in 1990. And let's see, approximately 74,000 miles. But it underwent a Speedster-style transformation incorporating a 1994 Porsche Speedster windshield and frame. They did a custom clamshell and a steel fabricated deck lid. Underneath that deck lid is a 3.6-liter flat six with a G50 gearbox, limited slip differentials, and other enhancements. A lifelong California example. It's now being offered by the seller. Now, John and Yuri sent me this car, and then a couple days later, we were talking about it again. They wanted to know if we were going to cover it, and I was like, of course, you guys sent it to me. And, of course, this is a car that I know for a fact my partner, JP, would buy and own this car if he had the money and it lined up at a time when he didn't have a car in the garage already. JP would buy this car and absolutely drive the snot out of it. But then Yuri and John went on to tell me that several years ago, they had seen this car, met the owner of the car, and seen this car in person, and said that it's really nice. It's actually pretty cool. So they know the car intimately. They kind of signed off on it as being super cool and done well. And now the car is for sale. JP, let's just assume that they did this car 20 years ago or whatever. I couldn't even imagine what it would cost to start down this road right now. I'm sure Max can give us a ballpark, rounded up to the next, the highest 50,000 increment. But I'm guessing that the conversation for something like this begins at $250,000 if you wanted to build it today. Do we think that P-Car Market has a chance in hell in achieving the retail number that the seller has in mind, not for recouping his money, but for just trying to unload this car? I'm just struggling to think how many miles apart we could be from what the hammer is to what this car winds up for in the chum bucket, aka the deal tank. So JP, the fit and finish looks pretty good. Again, without touching the car, it looks pretty decent. I don't know if anybody's going to walk by and be like, did Porsche make that? I still think it looks too Frankenstein because there's just not enough other long hood convertibles on the road. It's like, how many Cobra replicas are there in the world? 100 times, 1,000 times more than the originals were ever built. But the long hood convertible, not even a Speedster, but just a Cabriolet, is the car you would think more people would do, and nobody does. And maybe Max can shed some light on that. But because of that, when I look at this car, instead of saying, oh, how cool, somebody did a long hood Speedster, I go, oh, how awkward to the eye, because I'm just not used to looking at a long hood that's a convertible. That photo right there from the front, it looks beautiful. For every other angle, Sorry, I'm a bitch. I can't get over it. But JP, I know you love this car, and I'm sure you would say, that's fine, Deeb. I'll take it and enjoy dancing with it the rest of your life. Tell me what you see when you look at it, and then we'll get into what we think this thing will sell for.
Well, yeah, I mean, the biggest problem with making one of these is that the Speedster stuff is impossible to get. Like getting that Speedster windshield, no one makes that.
It's a unicorn.
There is no amount of money that you could really pay to build one of these because there aren't any Speedster windshields for sale. There aren't any Speedster doors because if you have to change the door, because if you notice, it doesn't have that little A-pillar window, wing window that they usually have, and the glass is shorter. So you have to have the special Speedster door. The clamshell in the back that on this one looks like it's a custom one. It's not an original Porsche Speedster hump, but really the biggest thing is that front windshield, and that glass. That's just, you can't get it. And yeah, I love this car, and you're right. It does. I'll admit it looks weird, right? But I think it's because Porsche didn't make this car. But what I do like about it is that it does kind of look like if Porsche had, this is what it would look like. The humps on the back, the Speedster humps behind the seats on the G-body cars and the 964s that were Speedsters, they're much more defined. They're much higher. But these are just kind of like, it's just like a fiberglass cover. And that looks like something that they would make in period. This car really does look like if they made a Speedster or a convertible, they probably would have made it this way. And, this car is much closer to a 356 Speedster than it is a G-body Speedster from 1989. I mean, 65 was when they made the Speedster in the 356. So I mean, it makes sense that they would have made one. It kind of surprises me straight up that they didn't. Do I love this car? Hell yeah. I just love if you ever talk about a Porsche being minimalist, I mean, how much more minimalist do you get than this? There's nothing there. It's just basically a chassis with some wheels and a big ass engine. This has got to be a hell of a lot of fun to drive with a 3.6 and a G50 in there. Come on. Yeah, I'm really upset that I probably the stars aren't aligning on this car, but this car really is me. Max, what do you think of this car?
I'll have to give this an A for effort in terms of design and creativity. I've never seen anything like it, and it's actually, I'd have to say, it's pretty cool. It does look weird. I don't think I would, go goo gaga over it at all. But in terms of fit and finish, it looks great. I think it's fantastic. I just don't think I would ever drive it.
Well, you're not a convertible guy, though, right? I mean, so
we already discussed that I am a cabrio phobe, but I like I said, I have to give it an A for effort. Simply, like you said, even like sourcing the windshield frame and integrating all that. The rear clamshell looks like it's low profile, so it looks like a lot of design and R&D went into this car. And the overall product is actually quite clean. It's not one of those, choppy looking things that you would expect to find, as a result of something like this. It's just not for me, I don't think.
Well, and I get that, and the question really is, it comes down to, and I appreciate it. Sounds like your analysis of the car really is kind of like, all right, if you are someone who likes a convertible, this one looks like for the type of project that they were going for. This seems like it's about as good as you can get if you were trying to make a car or create or design the Porsche that Porsche didn't make for the era. Is that a fair assessment?
That is a fair assessment. Also, to be said is that this is the perfect example of what we were talking about earlier, where everyone and their dogs are going after the air-cooled 911, resto mod thing, and we're getting carried away, people. We're going beyond certain things that, I love the 3.6 in a 72 chassis, but to recreate certain things, though it's cool, are we getting carried away? Is it just me? I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I do. I think this whole car is carried away. If Porsche made this car in 1973, they would not have put that dome on the back. It would have just been a folding convertible top with a tonneau cover, like a convertible top. What do you call it?
That's not true at all. And there's proof of it. The Speedster, the 1965 Speedster, the top just drops down into the back, and there's a tonneau cover, but it doesn't stick up above like the G bodies do. Buddha, what do you think of this car? What's your take on this thing?
I think Max is right about it's a great. Whoever had the inspiration, I'm going to build an older Speedster, but well executed. But you're right. It looks weird. Last week we covered that chopped hardtop 911, and the proportions were just really screwed up. The profile of this car really reminds me of the thrown off proportions of that car.
Yes.
What do we think this car is going to break, Michael Deeb?
Oh my God, that's such a good question, JP.
Yeah.
So again, I think this car, even back then, probably cost a lot of money to make, because those parts that you say aren't available now weren't available then either.
Well, hold on. If you want, I can actually speak to that, because it depends on when this car was built. Because those parts weren't terribly expensive that long ago. I had a 993 cab for quite a few years, and call it 2016 or 17, you could get the windshield, the hump, the glass, and the top for somewhere around $20,000. They weren't expensive because people just didn't care. They weren't thinking of doing that. And then all of a sudden, a few people did it to a few cars, and then there were only a handful of them left. You could actually get a windshield from Porsche for $6,000. Now they don't even have them. So the question, does it say in the listing when this car was built? Because that would determine a lot. The other thing too is like, if it is an older build, which everyone is kind of suggesting it was, it's like, well, was the Targa messed up, or was something else, was this car in an accident, and they're just like, all right, well, let's mess with this car. This car is very old, and it's entirely possible that it could have been in a major accident before Carfax even existed. And this may have been the result of someone just going, well, it's cheaper, just put one of these, because in the early aughts, you could get one of those Speedster windshields for a few grand. And it would probably be cheaper to convert it into this makeshift Speedster than it would to replace all the Targa stuff. It's, you just, without knowing when this thing was built, you just don't know how much it cost back then. But we can be sure that to redo it now would be hundreds of thousands of dollars. So with all that said, Michael Deeb, we haven't even talked about the shit show of a platform that it's on. Because
well, we're about to get into that.
Wait, hold on a second. It's that time of the show. Yes, because P-Car Market sucks. What's this car
T-shirts
gonna bring,
available.
Yeah, we got to make
our
those.
Patreon. Yeah. All right. So right now, JP, our car is sitting at $40,000 on just 7 bids, and it closes 2 days from now. So this car is going to close on Friday. JP, I still think people are going to look. You talk about motors, driving, values. In this case, we've got some unobtainium parts that are also going to drive the value. But my guess is that the guy who's selling this car is probably thinking it's worth over 150. My knee-jerk reaction is that this car is going to wind up in the deal tank for like $175,000. But JP, I think it's going to get up to, I'm just going to give you $96,911 based on it being a 96 911 motor that's in it. So I'm going to say that it doesn't quite break 100, and it winds up in the deal tank for essentially twice as much money. And I just think that's destined to happen here. I just don't see it. There's not a lot of action on it right now. I don't see this car selling organically, and I don't think the guy's going to give it away. If this car sells for 120 grand, John, you're going to be pissed you didn't bid on it. So I just don't think that's going to happen. I think that the ask is going to be over 150, and I think the hammer is going to be under 100. That's my take. So $96,911 to you, JP, and then Max will come to you, and then to Buddha.
Yeah, I don't think this car has any chance in hell in getting anywhere near 6 figures. I think this car at best is, I'm going to go, what year is this car? It's a 73. Yeah, I'm not even going to go that. I was going to say, I'll go 63 911. I don't think this thing even gets to $70,000. And it winds up in the deal tank. The question is, how much does the guy think it's worth? Does he think it's worth well over $100,000? Maybe, probably. Maybe it winds up in the deal tank for 120. If it's more than that, he's nuts. No one, this again, as much as I love this car and want it, it's just not worth more than $120,000. It's not even worth $100,000. This is a weird car. The engine, I will say though, the powertrain, a G50 and a 3.6, that's worth 50 grand alone. I think this car though is just too polarizing. The cabrio-phobe vibe is too hard. People are going to ish all over this thing. If it were on a better platform, if it were on Bring a Trailer, it would definitely get a lot more attention and might find the person that's going to truly appreciate it. But I just don't think P-Car Market can make it happen. What do you think this car is going to bring? Max, where are you at?
I think I'm going to be around 69 911. Having said that, it is something that can be brought. I mean, if somebody doesn't like the whole Speedster idea on it, it can be brought back to its former glory. JP, you're right with the drivetrain being worth, pretty much all the money on this. And you're also correct about saying that the windshield frame probably came, depending on when the car was built, from a collection of parts that, just sat there in somebody's shop for years and years. I know a guy here in LA that has parts that are what we consider unobtainium, but he's had them since 1980. And he got them he's got them for nothing, and he wants all the money in the world for it, and he can't sell them. So that's I think 69,911 is the absolute top.
Do you think it sells at that price, or does it wind up in the chum bucket?
I don't think it's going to sell. I think it's going to end up in the chum bucket.
And what do you think the number in the chum bucket will wind up being?
That's a great question. I think you know what? I wouldn't even know where to start in that number. I would think, geez, I don't know. I mean,
that is the point of the show, is making up a number. You don't have to be right. Because we make our ish up all the time.
Can I take a pass? I was just going to say.
Oh, man. This is the first person that's ever taken a pass. Wow.
Yeah.
Buddha. All right. Moving on to Buddha. He gave us the number. All right, Buddha, what do you think this thing's going to bring?
JP, you were at 60. JP was at 63.
Yeah, 63,911.
Then I'll do 63,910.
Oh,
because I'm with JP. This is not going to bring the love, and 100,000 even in the chum bucket.
100,000. You think the seller is reasonable enough that they're not going to be crazy over the six figures thing?
I do.
Nice.
Because I don't know shit.
So JP,
a lot of drinking on the show, a lot of issues and F-bombs. We're just no monetization tonight, guys. That's all right. Only watch the show.
So we're pretty bearish on the car. Randy B's at 73, Anthony Vieira's at 66, Gerd is at 69, Ross is at 77, Brian's at 71, Scott Dickerson's at 87.9, Ace is at 71. Christian is at 68. Tom is at 92. Kevin is at 80. And Indy Dave is at 73. That's all the bids that I can see. There might be some more that I might have missed, but that's by that rationale, we are pretty low. We're all a little bit lower than them, with the exception of me. I'm over everybody, and the three of you are under everybody. So it'll be very interesting to see where the hammer falls on this car 2 days from now. There you go, John.
Well, Anthony brings up a good point. It's like, we're ishing all over P-Car Market, but maybe this car, if the seller is reasonable, P-Car Market may actually be the right place for this, because as Anthony brings up, if this car were on BAT, oh my God, the peanut gallery would be shitting all over this car. Every cabrio phobe, with, a stack of, what's the Porsche Club magazine, Siegel or whatever. They didn't make this car. This is not real. It would just be
Panorama.
Panorama. Yeah, it would just be just nonstop nonsense in there, and that would probably scare some people away from bidding it. But gosh, I don't know. I'm gonna hope. I'm sorry, dude, who owns this car, and it sounds like some of our friends know this car, the guy. I hope it fails to sell. And I hope that I sell one of my other cars in time to be able to buy this car. You guys have no idea. I love this car. This car is, oh my gosh, I would love to have this thing. And I would love the fact that people would be like, duh, duh, duh. And I love that there would other people would be like, that's pretty damn neat. I like the weirdos call me.
Question for you, JP. I know you, like, if you own this car, you could put a livery on it and make it look cool. But do you think the seller should have painted it a more interesting color than white? That would have been better.
Was it originally white? I don't know if they even repaint. Is it even repainted? It might be the original color. I think the thing that's. I don't know. Max,
would you pay $100 for
it? Would I pay $100 for it? Probably. Yeah, I probably would. I would just put a big, huge black meatball on it with a number on the side, and a handful of period correct. Sponsor stickers, all old Michelin stickers and stuff like that. It would be just so much freaking fun. Max, what would you do with this thing? Other than sell it to me.
Max put a Targa bar on it.
Do you want the truth, or do you want?
The truth. Absolutely.
Yeah. You don't have to agree with me. I can turn you off if I think you're just a piece of crap.
It's just click that switch. I'm out.
It's like, I can control it. Fake news. He's out, and Max is gone. Oh, sorry, technical problems. Yeah, no. What would you? Absolutely, I want your opinion, because you are in the business of creating car builds, and you've made some amazing ones. Do you think you'd do better just helping out the speedster-ness of this car and kind of enhancing that somehow? Or do you think you'd be better off pulling the thread on the sweater and trying to get this thing back to some kind of original style 73 Targa?
Well, I'm not a purist by any means, and you know that by the looks of my car, because I know JP has seen it. But I don't think I would go back to original. However, I would go back to a non-speedster. I mean, obviously, I'm guessing this car was not a matching numbers car, so hence, the 3.6 in it and then G50, which is creative and great because there's a lot of work to be able to, shoehorn a G50 and an F body and a G body car. Having said that, I would bring it back to the 73T that it was, but I would probably still, not being a numbers matching car, I would probably do something outlawish with it, but within its own original shapes.
Yeah, how much more would that bring that much money though? And would it be worth your time and effort and parts and stuff like that? I don't see that penciling out. Like
it's one of those things. Yeah, it's one of those things like, like I said earlier, there's a lot of guys out there that have a lot of parts, in their warehouse, and in certain aspects, I'm one of those. So I have a windshield frame, I have all the bits and pieces. I have a roof section that I could put it back to coupe if it was in fact a coupe, not a Targa.
No, it was a Targa. It wasn't a coupe, was it?
Targa. Okay. I think.
So how much would a 73 Targa, a mild restored 73 Targa bring?
Restored by us?
I mean, that would only be worth like $140, right? I mean, a non-original 73 Targa, that's not, maybe 150 if it's really, really nice with that powertrain.
Yeah, probably in that ballpark. I mean, considering that, like you said, 50 to 60 is drivetrain value.
Yeah. So you would have to buy this car at somewhere below 60 in order for that to pencil out. I just don't think that's possible.
If I was buying this car and I was doing it for my own purposes and just to say, listen, I want to save this thing from its and again, I'm not knocking the design. I think there's a lot of great work being done to it. But to save it from its speedster condition right now, I would actually not pay any more than $40,000 for this car at most.
Yeah, which there's no chance in hell you're getting this car for that price. I mean, let's be honest.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it just doesn't make sense. There's no way it pencils out to bring this car back to something like original unless the seller just is dumb and sells it for a ridiculously low price. I mean, our friends at Godden Porsche and Godden Classic, they're doing the Porsche restoration challenge for Porsche Classic TM, right? And they found an 88 M491 wide body cab that was a Targa. So they're bringing it back to the Targa-ness, and which definitely pencils out because they made hardly any of those. That's going to be worth, that's going to be worth $300,000 or something like that, right? So, but a 73 bringing it back to Targa, there's no way in hell. Anyways, we spent a lot of time in this car. What do you guys think this little speed? Something to factor in though in the equation. If you were looking at this car, if you're saying, okay, I'd buy it for 40, would you spend maybe 60, knowing that you could get at least $20,000 for that freaking Speedster windshield, just that alone? So that'd be but getting that thing off without destroying it, that would be pretty challenging. Yeah.
It's a lot of work, and it is like the numbers do actually not really make a lot of sense, but I mean, a 1973 911 Speedster, I don't know. Like, it's just...
Well, we're going to find out in a few days, and we will reconcile our predictions on the next episode. But let us know what you guys think this car will bring. Do you think it pencils out to restore it to a 73? Would you do that? Or would you just try to enhance the 73-ness of it, the speedster-ness of it? And are you not a Cabaret phobe? And you're just like, I'm going to drive this thing around, burn the top of my head? We want to hear from you guys. All right, let us know in the comments, and let's move on to the next car. Buddha, how you doing, buddy?
Good.
All right, what do we got, Michael Deeb? What's next?
All right, JP. Cousin Mark selected a car for us, and we haven't heard from him in a long time, JP. But he was messing around, and he found this 1969 DeTomaso Mangusta as a premium listing on Bring a Trailer, offered out of Berkeley, California, by Otis and Company. Shout out to Tazio Otis, a good friend of us and a fan of the shows. Otis and Company is his father's Ferrari repair shop. Patrick Otis and the shop are representing this car. I'm not sure if they own it personally or if they're selling it on behalf of one of their clients. But JP, the Mangusta is another one of DeTomaso's early efforts where they basically made, something of a prototype / supercar body and frame, and then utilized somebody else's drivetrain. In this case, it's an American muscle car motor with a German gearbox. So one of 401 examples built during a 4-year period that spans from, let's see, let me read this back to you, JP, really quick. 1967 through 1970. Ours is a 1969, and ours is built with the 302, the Ford 302 motor. And that's an interesting motor for this car because it's a muscle car motor that was built for Ford's effort in Trans Am. So despite it being essentially a small block V8, this thing revs for a muscle car. So Redline begins at 6,000 RPM, and that's where it begins. You could probably overread this thing to like 6,500 RPM. And it's got a ZF gearbox, a German gearbox. It's got some beautiful Italian wheels. And I mean, just look how gorgeous this thing is in this sort of gray metallic paint job. And then it's got this incredible cognac colored interior, JP. This car is absolutely a feast for the eyes. Now, the doors are conventional, but you'll see in later photos that the rear hatch that covers the motor is sort of gull wing in nature. It hinges in the middle, and it goes up on the right side and it goes up on the left side, presumably to service each individual bank of the V8 that's in the back of this car. But a hodgepodge of really cool pieces, from the Campagnolo wheels to the ZF gearbox to the 302 Ford V8. And there's a few other beautiful pieces inside the car. The car was also penned, it's worth noting, by Giorgetto Giugiaro when he was over at Ghia, and that's the design for this car. JP, we don't see these cars very often. 400 for the world. How many are left today, and how many of them are left in the United States? Seeing one of these cars at a concours would be a real treat. It would be really, really cool if your friend had one and you guys went for a drive and you could actually listen to this thing go and watch it move. It's a beautiful car. Again, we're talking late 60s technology. I'm not saying it handles, but I bet it's not a slouch either. Somewhere between, more of a sports car and not necessarily a race car. But there you go, JP. A thing of beauty. The Giorgetto Giugiaro designed DeTomaso Mangusta, one of 400. What do you think, JP? Take it or leave it? Do you love this thing or what?
This car is a fantasy, man. I mean, just looking at this thing, this listing is perfection. The photography is wonderful. The place that they took this car. This is what we were talking about earlier when it comes to not just transparency, but just selling the romance of owning something like this. I have no idea what it's like to drive this car, and I just don't flipping care. I just want to be in it. I want to be seen around it. I know that if my best girl is next to me in this car, that we are just going to look magnificent. And is just, I could care less how it drives. This car is like, I don't know, how many times have you seen like a Lamborghini Miura or something like that, and they're beautiful cars, but this thing is just like so, like no one would know what the hell this is. It just looks like this car. It feels like if this car were driving down the road, even if it were the middle of the day or if it were raining out or whatever, it would just be golden hour everywhere this car goes. Just everything around it would just change, and it would just change the surroundings. If you put this car in a trailer park, people would be like, that's the classiest, coolest looking trailer park I've ever seen. It just doesn't matter what you put this car in front of. It's all about the romance. I've just fallen in love with this car. Maybe it's because I've had too much scotch or whatever and I'm tired, but I don't know if I've ever loved a car more than we've ever done this show. This thing is just that's beautiful. What do you think, Max?
I absolutely love anything DeTomaso. I mean, like the DeTomaso Pantera is obviously the bee's knees, and you can see, obviously being the predecessor, you can see a lot of the similarities to Pantera. I love this car. I love the color. I love the color of the interior. I love the Campagnolo wheels. I just love the menacing look of this car. It's freaking beautiful. I would drive this all day. I would almost give my 911 away for this car, and that's a big bold. Do I give a number now? You want a number from me?
No, not yet. Okay, Buddha, what are your thoughts?
I love the word menacing. This car makes me want to do crimes. Like it is, it is. Top Gear. They used to talk about the baddies. This is something that a baddie needs to drive. This is gorgeous. The perfect pictures. God Almighty!
Look at that. Flip. Look at it. Look at it.
It's just sexy.
You just can't.
Sexy.
It's just majestic. All right. What's it going to bring, Deeb? What are these worth?
All right, JP. So the average, according to Classic.com, the average selling price for a Mangusta is around $277,000. According to the Haggerty Price Guide, a Concours condition car is around $380,000, and a number 2 excellent condition car is $272,000. There was a car that sold in the marketplace. Let's see, at Kissimmee in 2022, when the market was hot, there was a red one that sold for $440,000. And then there was a 1970 that sold for $418,000 that was also red, also at Kissimmee, but a year later. And those are 2 different cars. They just happen to be the same color. But most of the other ones have sold for just under $300,000. The Patrick Otis, the Otis and Company Association of representing this car, I think it means something. The old man there, Patrick Otis, has been repairing V12 Ferraris in Berkeley, California for like 50 years. So like if you have an old, historically significant V12 Ferrari, that's the guy in this country that you bring the car to if you need to open up that motor and do it. So the fact that he's representing the car here, John, with his name answering the questions, or the brand's name answering the questions, I do think that carries something. So initially I thought maybe $275,000 for this car, but JP, I'm just going to go ahead and drink the Kool-Aid and say great listing, great presentation, and the Otis name and a colorway that is achingly Italian and to die for. The gray with the cognac leather. I'm with you, John. I agree with everybody in studio. I love this thing. So I'm going to give you, it's currently at $180,000 and it closes in 2 days, and that's on 12 bids. I'm going to give you $302,000 where it sells, and will be a high watermark for the year for the car, which is great because I think at 302, that would be a bright spot in a softer climate for these cars. But I just feel like, John, these cars are too rare, and finding one in this condition with that name attached to it, I think somebody's going to pay what is essentially going to be today's top dollar, and that number is going to represent the size of the motor, 302, JP, and I send it to you.
Whew, yeah, everyone in the comments, everyone in the nerd herd is talking about how they're too tall for it. Ha ha! That's one of the actual benefits of being a short guy, man. I would fit in this thing perfect, and I would look good in it. So I think the nerd herd I think we need to start a GoFundMe to buy JP this car. I like this better than the Speedster. Can you believe it? No.
Yeah.
Whew. I don't think BAT is busted. That's what we're saying at the top of the show, but I don't think the market is going to support huge numbers for this thing. A couple of years ago, would this thing have gotten over 400? Maybe. But I don't even think it's going to get 300. But I'm going to get close. I'm going to say 290,000 and pass it off to Max.
I'm at 287.
Okay.
All right.
Right under me. And that tees it up for our main man, Buddha. What do you think, buddy?
Bidding's going to double. It's at 180, so I'll go 360.
Whoa.
Wow. Buddha likes it.
I think everyone likes it, and that's the point.
Yeah.
Gerd is with you
earlier.
Money will like it.
The 911s where this is something you can really like. A collector's already got all the Ferraris. With this kind of money, this is.
Yeah, by the production numbers, it's arguably rarer than a lot of Ferraris. Maybe not a lot of Ferraris from the 60s because they just weren't building that many cars. But yeah, it's low production number. And again, you see Panteras often, and most of them are chewed up. But to see a car like this that they produced a lot less of, it's that rare still. And then this one is spectacular in this condition and colorway. Gerd is with you, Buddha at 365, Randy B at 260. Tom is too tall for it. Brian at 285, Anthony at 335, Scott at 324, Ace is low at 245. Kevin is all in at 400. Mike Perlman. Hey, Mike, what's up, man? Mike's watching the show from the Motoring Club, 369, 420. So Mark is obviously smoking a bowl right now. Indy Dave at 350. And Ross Churchhouse at 275, 5. That's pretty good, man. Look at that swing, JP, from 245 up to $400,000. This will be an interesting result because we really, underneath all those bids, none of us know what this thing is actually going to bring. So that's
look,
it's going to be fun.
If you're that guy that just sold his company for a couple $100 million or whatever, and you're looking for that flex, I mean, you could be the jagoff that goes out and buys a SVJ or something like that. There's just no way you're anywhere nearly as cool as the guy that rolls up in this thing. Even at $400,000, I don't know if there's a single car out there at 10 times the price that is going to be as classy and badass as this thing. I mean, I'm sure there's cars that are worth a lot more that might perform better and blah, 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 but there is nothing that's going to hard park and flex as badass as this. You roll up with your lady or guy or whatever you're into and they hop out of this thing. You guys are like all eyes are going to be on you. Like, who the F is that? This car is just living the dream. But what do you guys think? Am I just like too romantic over this car? Am I just like going, what? I mean, look at that. Look how good that looks, you people. Let us know in the comments below, and let's get to one more car. Michael Deeb.
All right, JP. I selected for us this super rare 1984 Porsche 911 SCRS. That is on Bring a Trailer, listed out of San Diego, California by our buddies down at Symbolic. He gets some incredibly rare cars from overseas. John, did you know that they only made 20 SCRSs of the lightweight rally special with a built 3-liter and just all kinds of crazy stuff to get this car onto the rally circuit and have Porsche go out there and dominate? Essentially, the car before the 959, the normally aspirated version of Porsche's incredible technology to go over land as quickly as possible. Rain, sleet, hail, and ice. This car is your ticket to the victory circle. These cars, they were only basically given to, teams that were racing in period. Just about every one of these that was built has some racing pedigree. Our car is no different. It was a Group B special in the 1984 World Rally Championship. This is chassis number 21 and was delivered to Switzerland back in 84 and has historic, results at the Tour de Corse in France, and the list goes on and on. But the big news really is the lightweight, the wide track, as it looks like an M491 JP with turbo flares. But that 3-liter is built, that's a 10-to-3 compression ratio. It's got a trick 915 gearbox and a limited slip differential. These cars are just super high touch, exotic. Everything on this car was designed to make it go fast, and fast it does. It's lightweight, it revs, and it goes. These cars are just, John, it's the golden goose right here. And they're worth a pretty penny. I know some of these cars have fetched in the millions. So when we go to our bids, I have almost no comps to show you. It's almost impossible to find a track record of sales for this model because it's just that damn rare. But it's going to be, the numbers are going to be big. So GP, I send it over to you. In the end, it's probably an uncomfortable to drive with a full roll cage and a racing, harness and all this stuff. But as far as taking a G body and driving it and knowing that everything on it was essentially designed, in the skunk works at Weissach, to give the people who bought these cars for competition an edge. This was pretty exotic stuff. And by the numbers, it's among the rarest of any of the Porsches from the generations we love. This is, name a car, and there's fewer of these than whatever one you're thinking of when I talk about rare air-cooled Porsches. This one's rarer than all of them. So JP, you were familiar with this car. Have you seen one or gotten a chance to look at a full bucket of photos like we get to do here? Because this one is in the market in the United States, and you could buy it right now.
I've never seen one. I've heard of them. I remember seeing pictures of them back in the day. But you gotta love guys going out and trying to get good pictures. Look at this. It's a big truck coming.
Big rig.
They just stopped in the middle of the curve on a road and were like, we're going to get this cool shot. And, oh, here comes an 18-wheeler. No big deal. We'll just hang out and keep shooting anything for the shot. So kudos to the guys trying to sell this thing.
They should hire Otis and Company, who just listed that DeTomaso Mangusta to take their photos for them.
Look at this. And then they turned it around the other way. It's facing the wrong way in the middle of this curve. Like I was thinking originally when we started looking at this listing, are they on some old oval track or whatever? Nope. They just went out in the street, parked it in the middle of the road, in the middle of a corner, no less. What could happen? It's only a $500,000 car. Max, what do you think of this thing?
I think it's fantastic. I mean, I've never seen one ever in my entire life. I think it's awesome. I did hear of them, obviously. It's, I think in terms of the photos, like being on the wrong side of the road, I think it just adds to that, I'm a badass. I'm that one of like a few. I can afford to do this. I can be on this side of the road. I don't care there's an 18-wheeler coming my way because I can get out of his way real fast. So, this thing is just like, balls to the wall kind of badass. I mean, you're right. Whoever said, I think it was Michael that said, not very comfortable to drive, with the roll bar and all that stuff in it. But, I mean, the rarity of it is just unreal in this car,
Udo, what do you think of this thing?
It's it seems pretty cool. It seems like something that'll never get driven, which is the real shame, because as Deeb pointed out, this thing was built to not only be driven, but like driven beyond the limit, so to speak.
Yep.
And you just the value of this thing, it's just going to sit in a collection somewhere.
I say, we all kind of say, well, we've never seen one. It's like, would you look twice if you did? I mean, the thing is, it's such a rare car. It wouldn't even occur to me that this is what it actually, like if I saw something like this parked somewhere at a car show or whatever, I would just think it's like, okay, there's another safari guy or something like that. I wouldn't, I would, unfortunately, I would pass right by it, and that would be my loss. But really, it just doesn't look that special. It is awesome. It's a wide body 911, but I mean, we've seen a million of these at this point, and
it's not even really safari like a Lee King car where it's going to be sort of raised up. It's
kind of eye-rocked, and I'll tell you right now, Max will build you one for $350,000 and save you $750,000 in the process.
About the only thing
Max,
that jumped.
I love it.
I got you, Max. I'm your marketing department right here. Sorry, JP.
About the only thing that jumps out is those bumps on the rear bumper. Like it has those. I'm sorry. Yeah, I mean, look at that's about the only thing that says, "Hey, what's going on there?" What are those little micro? They're not even bumperettes. They're just like license plate lights, which surprises me that it even has. That's pretty shocking to me. All right, rarefied air. How much money is someone going to have to pay to get this thing, and will it sell? Yeah.
So JP, here's the deal. Our car is sitting at $460,000 on scroll. A lot of photos. They did a lot of photos. 14 bids, and it doesn't close for another 3 days. So it's got 3 days to go. I mean, if you effectively double that number, which we see is common with Porsches on BAT, it doesn't mean anything. But if you effectively double that number, I'm going to give you my bid of $911,000. And I kind of think that if it doesn't make $1 million, I think it fails to sell. We, at Haggerty Marketplace Broad Arrow Group, we have a whole bunch of cars that are in the Collector's Garage, which is a website for our high-end classified ads for cars that are trying to trade, effectively privately, even though some of them are publicly listed. But we had a car that was privately listed, and we had access to a 911 SCRS that was not raced and still basically like brand new in the garage. And we were asking close to $2 million for that car. So I could see that I think the hammer will fall short, probably in the $800,000 or $900,000 range. I'll give you my bid at 911, but I think it fails to sell at this. I do think this is a 2-comma car, but I don't think it will see 2 commas on Bring a Trailer. It's too rare. You got to have, instead of just having it listed on a public forum by a guy who sells exotics in San Diego, I think you have to have people that can vouch for the car, whispering into the collectors of multi-million-dollar cars, telling them, oh yeah, this is the Swiss car, this is a good one, it was restored by so and so in Germany or whatever, you should throw him a couple of bones and buy the car. I don't think it's just going to go up for grabs and they're going to just effectively organically auction this car. It's too obscure, and that's why I think this car will not sell. That's why I think this car will not reach $1 million, and I think the bid will go on. So JP, $911,000, just to be funny. Where are you at with your bid?
Yeah, I mean, why the hell? I mean, the fact that this car is for sale right now. Where was this guy a couple of months ago when the Air and Water show was happening in LA, and Haggerty had their Broad Arrow, auction there at this show? This car brings $1.5 million for sure if it's at that show.
For sure.
But the fact that it's on BAT, is it busted? No, but this car does not belong on BAT. This car needs to be in a place where everyone there actually knows what the hell this is. Even if this thing is at Sotheby's or, one of these other higher end auctions, it's just, I think they totally missed the opportunity to get all the money, and I think they're going to have to wait till the next, I don't know what, Amelia Island or something that is Porsche event adjacent for there to be enough people with the money and with the understanding of what this car is. Look, I think people start to look at something like this. Like in 1984, the 959 existed. Why does this car even exist when the 959 was on the road? It's just such a crazy car. I forgot that they even made these. So yeah. Max, what do you think?
You know what? I think you're absolutely right. Like a lot of people probably don't know at first, even looking at it, you wouldn't even think, to know what it is. And I think that being on BAT right now and at the price that it is with 3 days to go, I think it would be catering to people that are probably not sure as to what it is. They have never seen it. But somebody with deep pockets out there is going to be like, well, if it's at 460,000 now, I'm just going to go balls to the wall and just go at like 959, 911. That's my number.
Nice.
And yeah, and that's because, like you said, 959 was out at the time. So, but I mean, this is unique as hell. Right? I mean, it's just one of one. What I do love is that Radio Shack CB radio in it.
So true.
Totally.
State
of the art.
Is it too rare though? I mean, we've seen that happen a lot of times where cars are just too rare. Like we saw a rally 911 of the same era that just totally fit. Buddha, what do you think of this car?
Well, I think now that the bid nerds have covered it, all the real Porsche nerds are going to know about it.
You are wearing a DeTomaso
Right.
shirt,
Yeah,
so that's true.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm going to say it does bring the eyeballs. It does bring the serious Porsche guys that know what it is, and it is going to bring $1,911,000.
Wow.
Ooh.
Wow.
1 million.
All right. And do you think it sells at that? And do you think that's a deal? I think that's a bargain if that happens. I think if it sells that low and the seller actually takes it, that's just incredible. I think that is absolutely a car that they could just roll. They could just drive to Monterey. You could actually afford to drive it at that point because you're going to make hundreds of thousands of dollars in 4 months.
John, let me give you a couple pieces real quick. So again, this is a 1984 and it's essentially an SC. So like they carried over the SC and they took this to Group B rally racing and it was normally aspirated. I think the following year, Group B was like, we're tearing out the rule book, and if you want to do forced induction, you can. And then at that point, it was all-wheel drive and it was turbochargers. So this car is, to me, the grandfather of the 959 or the father of the 959. This would have been the car that they raced in period, and then the following year they came out with a turbocharged version of this, and then the 959 with all its flair and all-wheel drive followed right after that. But to say that this car was on the road at the same time as the 959, I think we're off by just a year or two. And then my other thing to you, JP, is just for sake of argument, how cool is a white car with all white painted Fuchs. How come we've never seen that? It looks really good. What do you think? You like it, JP?
I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, the car looks spectacular. I don't even think we need to bother talking about that. The car looks great, of course. The big question is, what do you guys think? Let us know in the comments below. We love hearing your analysis. It's usually better than ours. Do we think this car is too rare to bring the big money? Will people on BAT, will they fail to understand the provenance of this car and what it actually represents? Or will they open up their wallets and sign that big check? Let us know in the comments below. Michael Deeb, we have another kind of like a flash car in here, right?
Yeah,
is that what we're gonna
really
do?
quickly. Yeah, really quick. But JP, forgive me, I didn't write down your bid. What was your bid on the SCRS?
Oh, I can't remember. It was what was yours? Yours was
911, and Max was at 959.
Then mine was. I think mine was like 800.
They'll put it in the chat. So I know someone was paying.
Somebody lives. I don't know. 800,009 with 911 at the end.
Okay.
$800,911. There you go.
All right, cool. And then, Chris Carbine sold a car to a guy, and then the guy who sold the car has now listed the car on Cars and Bids. So a ex-Carbine Motor Cars car is this 2010 Lexus ISF with the 5-liter V8. Our car has 42,500 miles. But the big news is, JP, how few ISFs are sold, and even rarer is this ultrasonic blue mica, and it's a mostly unmodified car. So this is basically they're taking their small sedan platform and stuffing a V8 from their big luxury flagship, and then giving it some sport tuning and some cool bodywork. But this one in the mica blue apparently is very rare, and so rare that Chris Carbine recognized his former inventory car. Our car is located out of Star, Idaho, so the Spud Syndicate can go down and touch this car. It closes tomorrow, and it's currently sitting at $32,000 on 11 bids. JP, with 42,000 miles, I think this car is going to sell for $42,500, and I think at that number it sells, and I think it makes everybody happy. I can't imagine that this car with those miles on it would bring more than that, despite how rare the blue paint is, according to our buddy Chris Carbine. So JP, where are you at? 42.5. It's at 32 now, and I said it's going to go to 42.5.
Yeah, I don't really know anything about these. This car is invisible. I wouldn't notice it. I mean, it's a terribly nice car, and Acura makes wonderful cars. And
Lexus.
I'm sorry. See, whatever. I literally don't care.
It's that
that's how much it just doesn't do anything for me. And I'm sorry. I think the owner might be watching this car. It's not to disparage it at all. It's just this just isn't my jam, right? And I know it is for some people, and this looks like a great example of one. But it's just a nice used car to me. So I don't know what it's worth. Acura Legend or whatever. I mean, I just don't. It's a Lexus. I don't care. But it's beautiful.
Give me a bid.
I guess.
Give me a bid. Over or under 42.5, JP?
40,000 and whatever. What do you think, Max?
He's so mean.
Just like you, JP, I have no clue anything about these cars. I don't know anything.
Yeah.
I don't follow that whole.
It could be a Hyundai. I just it wouldn't. It just doesn't register.
I don't know.
JP,
Fancy
JP,
Toyota.
that's Toyota's MR2 right now. That's what they call it. It's an MR2.
Yeah.
Well, no, but honestly, it's not. I don't even take that as a joke because it's like, okay, we bust on MR2s all the time. You know, Deeb is all proud of himself, but an MR2 someone would actually notice, even if it was a busted pile of crap. This car is invisible, right? It just blends into the background, and whoever's in the car is probably having a great time. It probably performs wonderfully.
Air conditioning works.
If I needed a daily driver and wanted to actually have fun in my commute, I'm buying this way before I'd buy like a Tesla or any other EV or whatever. And I think that's what cars like this represent, is the opportunity to get something that's quite awesome for hardly any money. But I do think 40,000. But what year is this car? It's a 2010. Yeah,
2010 with 42,500 miles.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, yeah, I guess 40 grand. Max,
All right,
did you
Max.
give your number?
Deeb, what did you say it's at right now? What's it sitting at right now?
32,000 on 11 bids. Not a lot of action, but it's a good number.
How many days left?
Closes tomorrow.
Oh, I would say 38 at best.
Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't paying attention because I was so bored by it that I really screwed up. I wouldn't have. I probably would have bid another $1,000 over what it's at, but whatever.
Somebody wake up Buddha and tell him to give us a bid.
It's a great engine. I actually was on the doorstep of buying the GSF, which is the same engine. It's a larger car. So this you get that big engine with a smaller sedan. I'll sort of go in between all you guys, I guess, and go 39.
That seems
39. There you go. Fair enough.
Solid. I'll tell you, I would way rather have it than my Macan because I think that's one thing. I mean, as a Toyota, it's going to last forever. My stupid four-door, Porsche Audi thing is going to break sometime soon.
Chris Carbine bid $41,500, and we should have had him go first since he knows the car better than anybody. I think the owner is watching V24. I think that's Vim. Hope we didn't offend you, Vim. Good luck with the sale tomorrow. Zach Miller has reached out to us. He's in the comments and said he's back. We haven't seen Zach Miller in a while. And then Zach just texted me and he said, you need to get me on the show soon. So I think maybe we'll tee up Zach for obviously not this Sunday. But
he wouldn't hang out with us when he was working for Cars and Bids, but now he wants to hang out with us?
Yeah, totally. Well, now Zach, they've pulled the duct tape and the muzzle off of Zach, so now he can give us his candor.
I want to hear the dish on all the cargo pants. What's actually in those shorts? Actually, I don't want to know. Love it, Zach. You're totally welcome on the show. We'll have you as a guest very soon. All right, guys. We're going to wrap this one up. Big shout out to our good friend Max from RetroWorks Garage.
Thank you, Max.
Max, how do we find you? And how do we reach out to you if we want to find you on the socials and stuff?
On the gram.
Find me on Instagram at RetroWorks Garage or online at retroworksgarage.com.
Buddha, thanks for coming down to the studio and making sure I don't pass out. It was nice to have Buddha here in the studio, knowing that if I did just faint, that he could call the proper. Yeah, you would just call the garbage truck and he'd be like, get him out of here. Buddha, what's up? Where can we find you? What do you got going on? Anything you want to plug?
You can find the Instagram, Queers for Gears, and then come do if any of you guys are in the sort of West Coast and want to come to a track day. We do track days about an hour from Vegas on a really amazing track. So
when's the next one?
We just got done. We're going to take a break for the summer. September.
Too hot. September.
Yeah.
How close is it to AutoFest date-wise?
It is the weekend after AutoFest. So
I might leave my car.
Yeah, we did that.
Yeah, I might leave my car and then come out and do a track day. Will you? We'll do a little lead follow.
Buddha, you're running Cars in Cafe this weekend, yeah? In Las Vegas?
Well, that's interesting. You bring that up. Can you? So I'm going to see Dead and Company Saturday night at the Sphere. My old college roommates coming to Vegas. So I don't know that I'll be there at 7 a.m. Sunday morning, but I'll be there to help make sure the trash gets put away.
I need you, Buddha. I need you. Nobody's gonna be there. I'm gonna be in San Francisco, so you're my go-to guy.
Buddha's gonna show up at 7 a.m. in a fur.
The Sphere.
Just stay up.
A furry bear.
Just go from. Just take a few more.
And I'm old.
Yeah, but you got all the gummies and stuff. All right, guys. Again,
that'll make me stay up.
Yeah, all right. Max, again, thanks for hanging out.
Thank you, Max.
Buddha, you the man. Nerd Herd, you guys are the best. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't done it. I know that there's way more people in the Nerd Herd right now than there are thumbs up, so hit that thumbs up before the show's over. Guys, we will see you Sunday. Well, actually, I don't think we're going to do a Sunday night show because I'm going to still be in San Francisco, so we may not see you next for a week. Yeah. So, see you guys.
Send us some cars for next week. Yeah.
Next time. Bye.
Get those nerds!